Hello, welcome back to Psychosocial Counseling Masterclass with Dr. Tulipo Mwenfumbo. Today we are looking at Introduction to Psychology, and as we said last time that this course encompasses different subjects like psychology, sociology. It also looks at public health. It will also look at counseling, and that's where now we are going to do the details on counseling and on the psychosocial issues. So now today we are looking at the subject psychology, introduction to psychology. And we are going to look at it at this module. We'll look into we are going to divide it in two parts. So part one, we are going to cover introduction, and also we are going to cover three topics. And part two, we are also going to cover four topics, because we have got about seven topics that we are going to cover in this lesson, or in this subject. So we are going to look at introduction, then we'll look at scientific foundation of psychology, we'll look at biological basis of behavior, we'll look at sensation and perception, we'll look at learning, we'll look at cognitive psychology, we'll look at developmental psychology, we'll look at motivation, emotion, and personality. So these are the subjects, including the introduction. So meaning that we are going to cover about 80 topics in this course. So for today, we are going to look at introduction, and then we'll look at scientific foundation of psychology, and then we'll look at biological basis of behavior, and then sensation and perception. What is the expectation or the expected outcome of this course? You doing psychology in this course, we expect, but by the end of this subject, you as a participant are expected to acquire knowledge and skills, and ultimately influence your attitudes, decision, and actions in your counseling career. So our desire, or the purpose of this course, is that you may be able to acquire enough knowledge and skills that will influence your attitude, decision, and actions as a counselor. So now let's look at introduction to psychology. Now, when we talk about psychology, what comes into your mind? So, the word the psychology is the scientific study of mind and behavior. It is the study of the mind and behavior. So this word psychology has got two words, which are Greek words. There is psych, meaning life, and logos, meaning explanation, or learning, or logos, or study. Now we look at the word psych. There are synonymous words that are in Greek that are more equivalent to this term psych, because the word psych may mean life, may mean the mind, may mean soul, they may mean it has got a lot of meaning, and the synonymous words that are used in this in Greek. There are words like bios, words like pneuma, words like zoe. All these words have got this. They are synonymous words, and in the studies they have been categorized and accordingly, or there is a perception that each study has taken in these words. For example, when we talk about the word zoe means life, also means living. So zoe, it is the study of zoe. It is the zoology, which means life of animals. Then we have got also pneumatology, which is also the study of the spirit, which is pneuma, Pneuma means spirit. Then we have got biology, the study of life. Also, bios means life or means spirit. We have got also psychology. So psych means life or spirit or mind. We have got also the other study which is I've said zoe, which is zoology. Now, in this course specifically, we are looking at the psychology, and now this discipline has been centered on the mind and behavior of an animal or the behavior of a human being. Now, meaning explanation, psychology is a popular major subject or course that is mainly done by the people that are in social sciences and those people that deals with other human beings. And so in social sciences, any person that is doing social science or any course relating to relationship with people, there is a subject that is called psychology. So therefore, psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. It explores the mind and behavior in terms of perception, communication, learning, memory, decision making, persuasion, emotions, and social behavior. So we are saying that psychology is the scientific study. When we talk about the term science, it means it is the subject that needs the proof. So the study of psychology has got is categorized into sciences. There is what is called natural science and also what is called social science. Now, when we talk about natural science in psychology, that is where we come up with the course called psychiatric, which looks at the brain and it looks at the abnormality of individuals and what causes the abnormality in the biological perspective. And also we look at the psychology as a social science. When we look at psychology as a social science, then we are looking at theories that that have been developed that looks at the behavior of a person, what influences the behavior of a person. So now we say psychology is a study of the mind and the behavior. So when we talk about the mind, there are also theories that looks at the mind. So now the theories, they are biological evolution and also other theories. So that is what when we look at psychology is studied as a social science and also it can be studied as a natural science. I said as a natural science, it mostly looks at biological, scientific biological view of psychology, how the biology of the human, the anatomy and also the physiology of a human being affects the behavior of a person. And when we look at the social science, we are looking at how the mind is affected by the environment. So that is where we look now. We are going to look at as a social science, where we are going to look at the mind, the behavior in terms of perception, communication, learning, memory, decision making, persuasion, emotions, and social behavior. In Unit 1, we are looking at the scientific foundation of psychology. So when we look at the scientific foundation of psychology, we are talking about the and now we are in this perspective. We are talking about the evolution, genetics, and brain. Now, this is where I say that this encompasses the natural science and also the social science. Now, the difference between the natural science is that in natural science we look at the biological part of science, whereby we are looking at proving things in a world, in a natural world, the things that exist. For example, the plants, the human beings, and all those things. That is called natural science. Now, social science says it is all about proving your theory. Now, we are looking at evolution theory. We will look also at genetics and the brain. These are the primary biological foundation of psychology linked to behavior. Evolution is one of the main aspects of human life which has affected everything on earth. So, in the study of psychology, I said we study in three ways. We look at evolution part, which is the theoretical part, or which is the development of theories that makes a person to behave the way they behave. Then we look at genetics, the inheritance and other things, which means that the behavior of a person is just inherited. And also we look at the brain as the factor of the behavior of a person. Now, what is evolution psychology? Evolutionary psychology is the study of behavior, thought, and feeling as viewed through the lens of evolutionary biology. Evolutionary psychology assumes or presumes all human behaviors reflects the influence of physical and psychological positions and helped human ancestors survive and reproduce. Now, what the evolution psychology means is that all what we possess as human beings, for example, fear, it comes from certain evolution or historical evolution changes. For example, we were living in the caves where there were lions. We were living together with lions and animals, whereby people were scared of being hunted by these animals. So now that has developed the fear in us. So it is through the evolution, although some of us we have never encountered where we were being chased by a lion or whatever, but there is that fear that has developed because of the evolution. Then there are a lot of fears, like some of the fears that we have, like the fear of darkness. The fear of darkness also has much to do with what was happening in the dark. So there are a lot of evolutionary theories. There are a lot of things that has made us to behave the way we behave. Some of the fears, especially fear is it comes from the fear of death, whereby we are afraid of dying. So now, because of the fear of death, it has given birth to other fears. Now, even when there are less things that makes us to have fear of death, we become so stressed because of that. So that is evolution. Now, because of the developments and also the changes that has been taking place in the development of human being to be what we are today, it has caused a lot of things and perception. For example, like I'll give example, like in Africa, we have gone through the slavery, from slavery to colonial, up to different stages that we have gone. And you may see that no matter how an African child is born not in the environment of slavery or in the environment of colonialism, but still there is that inferiority that is dominated in an African child. Why? Because of the ancestral and the changes that we have incurred and which has taken place. So there is that biological, or there is that evolution that has dominated the mind of a human being. So evolutionary psychology presumes all human behaviors reflects the influence of predominance by the ancestors' survival. because of how our ancestors survived. It has given us a certain moods, a certain fears, the certain thinking, or the certain reflection. We have got a certain perspective of how we view things. Then there is also genetic psychology. When we look at genetic psychology, it is the study of the minor manner in which genetics variation affects psychological phenotypes. So now our traits, including cognitive abilities, personality, mental illness, and social attitudes. Now, when we look at genetics, it is the inheritance. The difference between evolution theory on psychology and genetic theory of psychology is that evolution has to do with the environment affecting the behavior of human being. The changes that took place in the environment and also in the environment has much effect on the behavior of the human being. Now, in genetics, it talks about the inheritance. The genes that one carries will affect the behavior. So the behavior of people are determined by the genes they carry. I'll give you example like there is this example where a man, where this well-to-do man was living in the city. Now, the wife went and got a maid from the village which the husband did not know. And when this maid was brought into that house, this man started seeing this maid, and she became pregnant. When the wife came to know that the pregnancy she was carrying came from the husband, what she did was she took back this girl to the village. And that is how the story ended between this man and that girl. Now, that girl gave birth to a child, a male child. And later on, she got married to one of the villagers within that village. Now, she had some children, about 6 children with that man from the village, and plus that firstborn which she had from that rich man. Now, what happened was that this child became more successful than the 6 of his siblings. Why? Because of the gene that he carried. The behavior of this child was different from the behavior of others. Even when this child did not know that that man who was from the village was not the biological father. So now, that is the example of the behavior can be genetical. So the behavior of people also has much to do with the genetics. That's why we may find that even when a person is, you may be brought up in an environment which is not maybe where it produces thieves and what, but you find that one is not involved in those things. Why? Because of his or her genetical traits. And that is where the theory on biology, where they say the environment affects the child. The behavior of a person is affected by the environment. And also there is the behavior of a person is affected by the genes. So now, these are the two, again, theories that contradict each other. So now, in short, what I'm saying is that there is genetical psychology, which looks at the behavior of a person is predominantly by the genes that this person carries. So these genes include the thinking capacity, they include the personality of a person. You find that the behavior, say he behaves like the father. He behaves like what? The mental illness, and also the social attitude because of the gene. This is also behavioral biology. So there is also what is called genomic psychology. Genomic psychology looks at deeper knowledge of the causes of behavior and better understand why people do what they do. So genomic psychology looks at why do people behave the way they behave. It also comprehends how interactions between genetics and environment factors influence the brain circuits that generates behavior. So now, this is a study, or this is the psychology that looks at the biological or the genetical side of a human being or a person in relationship to the environment. I said there are two major theories that contradicts each other, which says a human being is the behavior of a person is determined by the environment, and also there is the behavior of a person is determined by the genes. In theology, it is also the same. In theology, there is what they call there is what they call the study of sin, which which is called hematology. Hematology is the science and study of sin. Now, this also has got a theory which they say a person is a sinner by birth, or a person learns to become a sinner. Is the baby born a sinner, or the baby is born righteous? Now, there are these two contradictory theories. So when we say a baby is born sinful, then we are talking about in psychology, then we are talking about genetical sin. We are talking about that the sin is inherited and a person is born a sinner. And the behavior of a person is wicked. That's why the child is taught to do good, is not taught to do bad. He knows all the bad. Like, for example, fighting, a child knows how to fight from birth, but he just has to be taught not to fight. A child knows how to insult from birth, but he just has to be taught not to insult. So most of the bad things are already in that child, and the child is just taught to be good. Then there is another theory which states that sin is learned, or the environment is the one that makes a person bad. Now, that is also another theory that it depends with the environment that a person grows from. So now, in genomic psychology, it now balances. It is the balancing up of the psychology, the environmental psychology, and also the genetical psychology, which makes a person, which states that the behavior of a person is a combination of the environment that person is brought in and also the genes that this person carries. So it reconciles two theories. Then we talk about brain psychology. Brain psychology is the area of psychology that seeks to understand how the brain affects behavior. It's known as biopsychology. Although you may also hear that this subject referred to psychobiology or behavior neuroscience. There is what is called neuroscience. When we talk about behavioral neuroscience, that is where now we talk about the endocrine system, the nervous system, or the behavior of a person. Now, there are three theories of the mind-brain theory. So the theories that we have for the mind-brain theory is monocotomy. Now, the mind-brain theory, it is these are the two again theories. One which states that the mind is in the brain, and the other theory states that the mind is different from the brain. Now, this differs according to the theories that one is biased to. There are those that we called evolutionary theories, which believe in monocotomy. These are called natural scientists. Now, the natural scientists, they believe everything is natural. There is nothing spiritual. There is nothing soulish. There is nothing like which is not spiritual. The brain and everything is physical. For example, when you saw that, those are called monocotomy perspective. So monocotomy perspective, it is the theory that says that states that there is only biological part of an animal or a living being. So a living being has got only one part, which is a physical part. And it is the physical part that creates the mechanical of the mind and the brain. For example, the tree. The tree gives birth, the tree grows. There are trees that have got fear. When you pass through, they produce a certain fear and all that. Does that mean that those trees, they have got brain? So a human being and a plant are the same according to these naturalists. In theology, they are called atheists. So they believe a human being is just natural. There is nothing spiritual about a human being. Then we have got the dichotomous. Dichotomous are these people that believes a person is made up of two parts. There is the mind, which is the soul, and then there is the body. Now, the soul, it is the one that makes a living thing to live. For example, the plant, it grows because there is life in it. There is life in it, and when the life is cut off, it will stop living. Meaning that the tree will remain the tree, but when it is cut, it means that the life is taken out, and it will still look like a tree, but it will wither because it has no life. So now in this, we don't look at the life as the brain as only being physical. They look at the brain being also mind and brain are two different things. So the brain is made up of the mind. It has got the mind part and it has got the brain part. The brain part, it is the biological and the physical part, and the mind part, it is the life that is treated in the brain. Then we have got the trichotomous, which means that who believes that the brain is made up of two parts. There is a spiritual part, there is a physical part, and also there is the mental part. And they say that the mind is not in the brain. The mind is outside the brain. That's why even when a person dies, they are unable to detect what was in the mind, or what was in the mind of the person. Why? Because the mind is not in the brain. If it was in the brain, then they believe that then it means that a person was going to be losing memory every 7 years, because the tissues and the faculties of the brain changes every 7 years. So that is the scientific foundation of psychology. So psychology can be studied into two parts. That's a natural science or as a social science. Now, in Unit 2, we are looking at biological basis of behavior. Behavior, the biological basis of behavior is an important field of study in psychology that explores the ways in which biological factors impact behavior. This includes investigating the laws that genetic hormones and nervous system play in shaping an individual an individual behavior. So now, this is now where we look at the genetical part. This looks at genetical factors like brain, neurotransmitters, endocrine system, hormones, physical health, and typology, and how they affect the behavior of a person. Now, in this study, that is where you look at the biological part of the behavior. For example, the endocrine system. The endocrine system, it is a system that produces chemicals like uh, chemicals that makes a person to behave in a certain way. Like there are chemicals, the testosterone, and there is also estrogen. So now these are two chemicals that are produced in the body. One which makes a man to behave as a man, and the other one makes a woman to behave as a woman. The other one, it is the one that is in charge of producing of the muscular hormones, and the other one, it is there to produce feminine hormones, and it is the one that produces like which may helps to produce sperm, and it is also the one which helps it to estrogen, or to produce eggs in a woman. So now those are they also determine the behavior. So when you talk about endocrine system, the endocrine system determines the behavior. We look at we look at thyroxine. When it is produced, how it makes your behavior and how you behave. So when we look at biological factors of behavior, we look at genetics, as we talked about, inheritance. We are looking at the endocrine system, the nervous system, and all that. So now that is where we look at, like when we look at the neural system, whereby because the brain, the body operates through two chemicals. The brain is connected into two parts. There is a chemical part and there is an electrical part. The electrical part is called neural system, and also the chemical part is called endocrine, or the endocrine system. So now these are the endocrine system. It is the one that produces, there are glands that produces the chemicals that makes a person to behave in a certain way, and also the nervous system, which is the neural system. The nervous system, it is the connections that connects the brain and all the body, which has got what is called the nerves. So the nerves will be able to connect the body. That's where now the thoughts are made, according to the biopsychologists. And let's look at our last topic in this today, sensation and perception. So before we look at sensation and perception, I want you to like the video, give a comment, and also give your perspective on what we are talking about and what you have researched. So and I'll be able to reply, and you may also suggest the other things that you may want to be added on this subject. Okay, let's continue on Unit 3, which we are looking at sensation and perception. In sensation and perception, sensory stimuli are taken from the environment and sent to the brain. Sensation is input about physical world obtained by our sensory receptors. Perception is the process by which the brain selects, organizes, and interprets these sensations. So when we talk about sensation, it is whereby now the receptors, which are the five senses, which is the eyes, the sense of sight, sense of feeling, sense of taste, uh, and all the five senses. So those are the ones which makes what is called sensory neurons, so it's a sensory system. So now in the sensory system, when we talk about sensation, it is used by these sensory sensory organs which are transmitted to the brain, and they give a certain sensation or a certain perception. So now the receptors, I think I'm not going to talk much about this, because I expect that you have done biology and you have been to up to grade 12 or so. Now, perception is a process by which the brain selects, organizes, and interprets sensations. Now, there is when you look at something, then the brain is going to interpret that thing and is going to tell you this is the thing. So that is perception. Now, in philosophy, we say that there is nothing that is real, but everything is perceived according to the what you have been influenced of. So a perception is the interpretation of information from the environment so that we can identify its meaning. So when the perception, it is the interpretation of information from the environment. For example, the colors. When you have been told this is red, it is red. So when you look at something red, you are going to perceive this is red. So it is going to interpret the colors. It is going to interpret what you know. So there is a certain perspective that you have which has been influenced by the knowledge that you have. So sensation usually involves sensing the existence of stimulus, whereas perceptual system involve the determination of what a stimulus is. So there is a difference between sensation. Sensation involves the existence of stimulus. So it will tell you, oh, you have seen the cloth. Now, the perception is the one that is going to tell you that the cloth that you have seen, it is red. Now, when we look at this, there are factors that influences the behavior of a person. The environmental factors. Now, these are the behavior of a person sometimes is determined by the environment. So the environment will determine how one behaves. For example, if you are a pastor, when you are at home, you are a father and a husband. When you are at church, you are a pastor. When you are somewhere, if you also work, you are going to be called, maybe you are a teacher, they will be called, you are a teacher. So now, those are the environmental factors. So you find that even the behavior of a person will be determined by the environment and where this person is. So the environment will create a certain behavior in a person. Same like the student and the lecturer. The same lecturer, if he's put to be the student, is going to behave like a student, and when and also to give problems like a student. When he becomes a lecturer, he's going to behave like a lecturer and be tough to the students. So that is how the environment affects. Now, we are looking at some of the factors that influences the behavior of a person. Like the light. The light has got much influence. There are people that study about the light psychology. And these are the people that designs the lights, like in places, even in theaters, they design the lighting in nightclubs, They design the lighting in places according to the way they want the behavior of a person, how they want a person to behave. So the light has got a certain characteristic that will create a certain behavior in a person. For example, if you are in a nightclub, there are different lights, and there are lights that moves. So those lights that moves, they put you in a mood, and you start now shaking your head when you're following the light that is moving. And when you look at what you are dressing, it changes your behavior, and you'll find that even if you are not a dancer, you try to dance. Why? Because of the light that it is giving. Now also, when you look at the light, during the day, there is a certain behavior that one will behave, and in the night, there is a certain behavior. So the darkness has got a certain behavior, and also the light has got a certain behavior. So the light has got influence on the behavior of a person. So people can behave because of the lighting that is there. So when it is too light, they'll have a certain behavior. When it is dark, there is a certain behavior. And the mind is determined and is controlled by the light. Hope we are learning on this one. Um, Also, there is also temperature. Temperature also has certain makes the behavior of a person. So when it is hot, people become moody. The tempers of people and the way they behave because of the temperature. So the temperature also has got certain behavior. So the environmental temperature will also has much to do with the behavior and the mood of a person. Then there is also sound. Sound has got also a certain behavior, and it makes a person to behave in a certain mood. And finally, population. Population has got a certain behavior. So the more the people are, the certain behavior, there is a certain behavior because people think no one is going to recognize me, no one is going to know me, or they'll think it is another person. So the number of people in a certain location will determine the behavior of people. That's why we see that there is more crime in cities than in rural areas. Why? Because of the congestion, or because of the population. Okay, thank you so much. I think we are going to end here, and you have to do the assignment that you're going to do. It is on these factors that influences the behavior of a person. So we are going to research on the light, temperature, sound, and the population, how they affect the behavior of a person. Thank you so much. Next time, let's continue on the psychology, and we are going to cover the 4 remaining subjects. Thank you so much. This is your host, Dr. Tulipo Mwenfumbo, and God bless you. Thank you for taking time to be with me.